we want to welcome you to the table tonight. We don't really have a topic. We're just going to chit-chat for a minute because we're getting ready for our women's conference on Friday. So when you watch this, we will be doing our women's conference that night. But I have to brag because a lot of times you just see me and Lisa. You don't see Brittany and Alicia back there. And Alicia is playing the songs and she's singing. Last year we tried to get her to go sing and she would only go like halfway up. And so this time she's full-fledged on the stage. And so it's really, really good. And there's Jo. I cannot pronounce her last name. But she's from Calvary in the youth group with Lauren, and then she actually went to Guatemala with Lauren, so they've done a mission trip together, so it was pretty cool. And then of course my daughter's going to be singing, and then Guarded Heart, so we're excited about it. So I messaged Lisa today and I was like, what are we going to talk about tonight on the podcast? She's like, I have no idea. So I was like,
I just figured we would talk about what Lee spoke on Sunday, but
yeah, and we're going to talk about what all's going on in the news, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the news.
Yeah.
And I really felt like after last week, things were going to kind of die down a little bit, but they really haven't. They haven't. And I'll be honest, I went through, you hear all this peace and safety, peace and safety, peace and safety. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is Trump the Antichrist? Is Elon the Antichrist? And I was there and I've talked to Lisa about it. And of course, we're always looking and watching. But today I listened to Pastor Alan Nolan on the Antichrist, and also listened to John MacArthur, and they kind of set me straight. Not saying that they're not ushering in something or whatever, because that's all you're hearing right now is peace and safety. You are hearing peace treaties, peace treaties, peace treaties everywhere, and so we know in the end days that's kind of like what we're looking for. And so one thing Jesse said in our Sunday school class was that Trump's not going to stop the plans of God. Like, just because Trump got in is not going to stop, the furthering of the kingdom, or the furthering of the end days, which we have believed we've been in for a long time. And so I listened to those today, and as I was going through listening or looking for what was all in the news, it kind of is all making sense. It really is. I don't believe Trump is the Antichrist. I do not believe Elon is the Antichrist. Pastor Alan Nolan talks about him coming from Syria. He will be a Muslim. And I remember teaching on this a couple years ago, and I got in trouble because I said basically it's the battle at the end is between the Muslim Mahdi and the Jewish Jesus. And there's so many other religions who believe Jesus was a prophet or a good man or whatever, but you guys aren't even in it. So if like you're Jehovah's Witness or you're anybody who thinks Jesus was just a good man, you are at the concession stand. Like, you're not even in the fight. So it's between the Jewish Jesus and this Assyrian, because in Micah, Isaiah, and Zechariah, they talk about the Assyrian. A lot of people think he's going to come from the Roman Empire. But that's why I like Alan Nolan, because he knows the words and what they mean and the definitions and the synonyms. And I mean, just he's a nerd, and that literally is a compliment because he's so smart. And so we're looking for somebody who is Muslim. And if you look at the Temple Mount right now, it is controlled by the Muslims. And so it all kind of makes sense. We want to label somebody, and literally the Spirit told me today, stop seeking the Antichrist, because there's people around you who don't know me. And you're like trying to make everybody know who the Antichrist is when they don't even know who I am. So that's kind of where I am. But I'm not saying that like all governments corrupt, but that's all I'm seeing on TikTok and YouTube and X is Trump the Antichrist, is Elon the Antichrist. And so I'm thankful for the Word of God, because it keeps you kind of grounded in it. Unless he's an Assyrian and don't know, and he's Muslim and all that stuff. So, but anyway, there's all kinds of other stuff. But so I wanted to talk about a few things, and I don't know if you've heard about the Tesla robot. Have you heard about the Tesla robot?
I mean, I've seen videos where they're I don't know if they're the Tesla robots, but the humanoid robots move in, like.
Well,
and then the dog that.
Yes, that patrols. Yep, that patrols. Okay, so like if you've ever seen, I think it's called iRobot. Is that the one with Will Smith where the robot like comes into the house and is like the maid and stuff? So literally that's what we're at. So Tesla is wanting to come out with this robot and it will watch you sleep. It will stand over your bed and watch you sleep. It will monitor your breathing. It will monitor your heart rate. And if you have any kind of a medical emergency, it will intervene. It will also help you with your daily task like cleaning your house. It gets you a drink of water.
And somebody can probably hack it.
Yeah, like, no.
And order it to murder me.
Yes. Like, could you imagine, like, I remember when my son, I used to tell him I was going to put a cowbell around his neck because he would come in and he'd be like, Mom. You know, and it was like, just say Mom. Don't whisper. Don't try to sneak in my room. Just come in and say, hey, Mom, I need something, you know. I can't imagine waking up and watching this robot, you know. So, like, the craziest things, I don't typically get in the news, but I just wanted to see what all was in the news today. And the Tesla robot, no.
I have one of those little Roomba robots. That.
Yeah, but if you have a home invasion, it will fight. I mean, like, what? No, sorry. So, crazy. I guess it would be good if you were single. So, Brittany, you know, like, that might be good for you, but I don't think that you would really want it looking over you while you're sleeping. No. So it's like it's almost taking place of the men. I don't know. Okay, so you want to share something about what Lee was talking about? No, you just want me to go down my list.
Yeah, I didn't even look at my notes.
All right. There were 88 earthquakes yesterday.
What?
Yes, 88 just yesterday. And so like I'm
all over the world.
Just all over the world. And of course, the Jews were attacked in Amsterdam. And they rescued 2,000 of the Jews. And that is so crazy because they have been persecuted forever. And that's what I don't understand about people when they don't understand, when they say, like, the Jews aren't the chosen people. Like, they have been so persecuted from day one. I've been watching the Bible series on Prime. And I love it. Have you ever seen it? Mm-mm. Oh, gosh, it's so good. It goes through all of the Bible. It's pretty accurate. I mean, really, I don't know if Samson was this big, gigantic black man like they're portraying him to be, but I thought it was pretty good, you know. And, I mean, he was kicking tail, but it is so good. And it explains. I'm on Daniel right now. And, I mean, it just gives you a little bit of Noah, Abraham, Lot, David. It's really good. It's a series. And so, like, one series has, like, 4.
Do you pay for each one of them?
Well, I have the Prime, so I get it for free. But somebody else was telling me that they had to pay for it, so I don't know. Okay. But it's definitely worth looking into because it talks about how, I mean, everything happened, and it really does follow kind of the Bible. And so, like, if you aren't familiar with how the timeline goes or really any of the Bible stories, talks about Jericho and everything. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And Lindley, I was really impressed because she was like, what's that girl's name that saves the spies that go into Jericho? It was just at the beginning of Jericho. And I was like, Rahab. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that was good for her to be able to kind of, you know, give her 2 cents in on everything and her to know about it at the age of 15. So, because I didn't know that much stuff. And it portrays Jesus coming to Abraham. And that was really good with his angels. And we don't think about that Jesus, you know, when it talks about the angel of the Lord, that was Jesus. And I think there's 2 different kinds. I don't know. I think it's the one that is all capital. If it's Lord and it's all capitals, it's talking about Jesus. So it's pretty interesting to follow. I'm talking about all of these things that are in the news because I want to show you that we are in the last days. And so, like, I know today when I first got on there, everybody was talking about Yellowstone. Do you watch Yellowstone?
I have, but I didn't get into it last season.
I didn't either. And I didn't, and so, like, everybody's devastated over Yellowstone, and then everybody's talking about Elon and Trump, and I think that we need to remember that we were just praying for God's will, and we don't want to get so politically into everything that we lose track on what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're wanting the kingdom to further, and we're not looking for Trump to save us. We want him to improve our country and things like that, but that's not what we're waiting on. And so, but I just wanted to show you that there are a lot of things, and a lot of people don't see these unless you go looking for them. I have a guy that I follow. I think you follow him too. He always talks about the snack recommendation. I cannot think of his name, but anyway,
the Watchman on the
River. Yeah. So this is where I got most of my information from today, because he just goes from news source to news source to news source to news source, and he's just every day you know exactly what's going on. He talks about Amir. He talks about all of the big powerful Jerusalem Post. He talks about everything, and so he's the one that said that there was 88 earthquakes yesterday, and I mean he's just on it. He's waiting every day like we are for the rapture. But the Jews were attacked in Amsterdam, and so there was over 2,000 of them that were returned. There were 10 rescue flights, and so there's another game that's coming up, and they've been warned not to attend. It's between Israel and France, I believe, and so
there was some type of game in Amsterdam where
yes,
they were attacked,
and all of their fans, they were ran over by cars. They were thrown into the water. It was horrible for just being a Jew.
Yeah.
And so that was horrible. And it really didn't get a lot of media attention, because it was kind of like the same thing that happened in October 7th at the art festival. Well, this was just at a ball game, and it was by the Arabs.
Yeah.
So there's another one coming up this weekend, and they've been warned that anybody that attends in Paris, that they will do it again. And so it's like, God, they can't go anywhere. And I remember before, prior to 2020, you hardly ever heard of any kind of Jews getting, like, when America, everybody could be here, but now it's just like all the time. So, and then this Saudi crown prince, that was the biggest thing that I heard today. His name is Mohammed bin Salami, whatever.
Oops.
Yeah, whatever. He is called the Peacemaker. And he spoke at the summit of Muslim and Arab leaders.
And is he Assyrian?
Well, he's Muslim, so I don't know. It's hard to kind of know where everybody's from or whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody's calling him the Peacemaker. And so there's this big summit that's taking place next year where he's supposed to have all these peace treaties that are signed. So, I don't know. We'll have to just kind of see what all comes out of that.
Yeah, we'll have to look into Mr. Solomon.
Solomon. That's it, not Salami. That's not what it was. They call him MBS. He's the Saudi crown prince. So we need to kind of watch him and see. But see, the Lord was like, stop. But I'm an end of the world girl, and I'm always like looking, because we were all created for this time. But I don't believe we'll be here. At least that's what Pastor Alan Nolan says, and John MacArthur and Jimmy Evans. I mean, they said, yep, we will not be here for the Antichrist. Even though I feel like that would be exciting times, but I think what happens, because as soon as he declares to be the Antichrist, he will kill, how many did they say? 6 million Jews. And there'll only be like 2 million left. And so that's the remnant that's left. And those are the people who will accept Jesus as their Savior. But 6 million, I think that's the number. I could totally be wrong. I wasn't really paying attention that much to it in Sunday school. But as soon as he declares he goes against the Jews, he will kill them. They will all be killed. And the others will flee. And I think he said they will make it to Persia, because that's going to be a place of safety somehow. All these Bible scholars, I'm like holding on to their shirt tail, trying to like learn everything. But there's so much information from where I'm starting.
Persia, modern day Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so they're going to flee to there, and they're going to be protected, and that's where the remnant's going to be. But not everybody's going to make it, and he's going to kill the majority of them. And then they're going to see that he was not Jesus. Mm-hmm. that he is the man of lawlessness, and that's when the mark and all that stuff, because they're going to love him until he sets up his seat in the temple.
Yeah.
And another thing that Jesse said on Sunday is, like, a lot of people think that the temple being built is a good thing. He was like, don't donate to the temple, because that's not the temple that is like Solomon's temple and all that. It is the Antichrist temple. So don't be donating to the Temple Institute, because they're always wanting your money to build the temple, and so don't be doing that. And then, of course, we have another scare. I feel like I've heard the news. Like, this is
well, you're filling me in.
Yeah. So the WHO,
World Health
Organization is having an emergency meeting on mpox. So I'm assuming that's monkeypox, mpox, whatever that is, to see. I haven't even heard it. So, like, this was all new to me today, to see if it is considered a global health crisis, because it's spreading in Africa, and it's considered to be on the highest form of alert.
It's just something else they're going to push out
to
us.
It is. And so, I believe that that's what's going to come. They're calling for the assassination of Trump everywhere. And so we are in the last days before we've ever been in the last. Like, I really did not believe we were going to have an election, because we were in the last days. I said, there's no way we'll have an election, because I just couldn't see starting 4 years. Yeah. But now I can see it. I'm just like, what in the world? We are just, And so today when I was praying, the Spirit just kind of was like, stop searching for the Antichrist, of who that is. We're coming up on the holiday season, so you're going to have all kinds of time with your family members who are lost and who don't know Jesus. And so we did a podcast on this not too long ago about how to prepare the field. Like, you've got to prepare your field. Like, if you're a gardener or a farmer, you have to prepare your field before you can plant the seed. And so that's kind of like what the Lord said to me today, is that there's people in your family who aren't Christian, who aren't followers of Jesus. You have people in your friend group. And really, this election stuff is just dividing us. So we're going to have to come to a point to where we don't really discuss it, I guess, because our whole mission is to further the kingdom to the ends of the earth. And that means in your family and at the Thanksgiving table. And so if you're talking about Trump or Biden or Kamala or whatever, that isn't going to further the kingdom. That's going to divide your table. And so, because I saw some posts, some little memes that are like, okay, so I'm bringing potato salad to the Civil War instead of Thanksgiving. Because there are so many families that are divided in politics. So that means that we have to prepare the field. And so that is praying for your family member. You know who's saved, and your friends that aren't saved or whatever.
And the Lord will show you if you're not sure.
Yeah, yeah. And you start praying for them. And you're like, Lord, soften their heart. So, and then close my mouth, my snootiness. Like, we always want to, like, dig into Biden or Kamala or Trump or whatever. Just don't make comments like that. Let it be about Jesus. Because that is really going to be how you further the kingdom. All right, so now you get to teach on something.
Honey.
Yes, you do. You're getting ready to speak on, what are you speaking on at the conference?
Oh, the fear of public speaking. Isn't that funny?
And so what are you going to say? Give us a little bit.
Well, I shared a little bit about, a few weeks ago, about Marva. She was an LPN that was in my clinic that worked with me. And so I'm going to share that story.
And you've invited her daughter.
Yeah.
And she's going to come.
She said she's going to be there.
That is amazing.
So what I'm going to talk about is kind of like the fear of public speaking, hiding your talent. So we'll go into Matthew 25:14 and talk about that. And then and we've talked about this on many podcasts, how the devil is the father of all lies, and he wants to keep us in bondage and keep us fearful so we don't step out in faith.
You won't tell your testimony.
You won't tell your testimony, and then you miss out on your blessings. You miss out on opportunities and rewards. And so try to put all that together I'm excited about
it. That's been the biggest question with this women's conference is how do I share my testimony? Because a lot of people haven't shared their testimony publicly, and in telling somebody that they've got a testimony, they're like, oh, gosh, what do I share? And one lady, because we're sharing testimonies from the beginning to the end of the conference. Even we were going to have some bluegrass music, but it didn't work out for it to happen.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 ladies that are going to share their testimony during lunch because they wanted to share a little bit. Never have shared their testimony before. And I actually had 3, but one kind of backed out because she's like, mine is so dark. And I was just explaining, we all have dark in our testimonies. Satan has made us think that we are alone and we, nobody else is like us and nobody else has thoughts like us. We talked about that in the bondage breaker. But we're all the same. And he lies to us. And so he doesn't want you to tell how you've overcame. And you don't have to tell all the deep, dark, secret stuff. Some of that is just between you and the Lord.
Yeah.
But you can tell a little bit of it and then focus more on what the Lord has done, how he's brought you out of it. And
that's what I'm doing by talking about the fear of public speaking, because that's been something that I've been riddled with all my life.
I think that's going to really relate.
Well, and some of the women we know that are going to be sharing their testimony have that fear.
Full-blown anxiety, panic attacks.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of women and men have that fear. And so I just want to kind of share my testimony because it was such a big hold on my life and kept me from opportunities.
And you've done a podcast by yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, really, you've came a long, long way.
I have, and it's because of the Lord and what He's done for me. And so I just think I'm excited to share that part of my testimony because it does. I do get to share about Marva and that whole experience and kind of like how the Lord's brought me from start to finish. Not that I feel like I'm a great speaker or anything, but I feel like I can do it. Mm-hmm. And so any time that I was faced with public speaking before, it would be an absolute no, shut down. There's no way, panic attack, start sounding like Elmer Fudd and
speaker.
Yeah, so it's just last year when it was my first time speaking in public and stuff like that, but in that kind of environment, but I just kept praying, Lord, I want to do this. You want to do things and you have things to share, but the fear can cripple you and then you don't share it. And then you're just you have this want to do it, but you just can't because of the fear. Mm-hmm. And so part of this is also stepping out in faith and trusting the Lord. And He tells us over and over in the Bible, don't be afraid. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid, right. For I'm with you.
Yeah, and that obedience, that pushing past that fear, that's where your blessing is. You might think you flubbed it up. And you know what? You might the first time, because I've flubbed up so many times. But you get better. You just keep telling it. You just keep telling it. And then it becomes very natural. And then you're just sitting here talking about stuff, just anything. And I love that the Lord pushes you. And this lady today, her name's Juanita. She's going to wait till next conference.
Or he uses Christy to push you.
Well, I just try to encourage people because I know I've been there. I've been scared. I really didn't
redneck. Really hear encouragement. I heard we're doing a podcast and we're doing a video.
Yep.
We're doing a women's conference.
I was very bossy with her because the Holy Spirit, I was like, this is what we're doing. Yeah.
Well,
and not everybody hung with us.
Yeah.
They dropped like flies, and that's okay. That is totally okay. Because it's not for everybody. They started out, 6 or...
this is 2 years. Mm-hmm. 2 years we've been doing this.
Yes.
And it's been a podcast every week.
Yep. That's crazy to even think about.
Yeah.
But, it's not for everybody. And I'm very, he called me to do it, and I knew He called me to do it, and so I couldn't be disobedient. I couldn't worry about what everybody else thought or what everybody else was saying because I knew what He called me to do. And so some of them were like, "Oh, let's not do it this week," and I'm like, "No, we have to do it." And that's why I was with her. It wasn't because anything with me. If I'm sick or I'm done, the show goes on, you know.
And it's not that she can push me around. It's
Yeah.
just because I'm obedient.
Yeah. I mean, she's stronger than me. She works out. So, you know. But it is. You want to be obedient. You want,
do.
you know, and it's good to have somebody that pushes you and you will do that with somebody else. Her daughter was like, "I'm so glad you're like that."
Oh, to you?
She was telling me that. She was like, "I'm so glad that you pushed my mom." And so now you push her. You know what I'm saying? So it's really good. So another thing that I'm very thankful about is that Brittany, our sound girl, got a house. So she is living in an apartment. She got, you know, it was a blessing. It really was. We moved her in Saturday. And so she's right beside the police department. So
That's good.
That's a good thing. And, you know, definitely a blessing.
There's men in uniform there.
Yep. It's hilarious. But I don't really think, I mean, other than Ukraine launched the largest drone attack against Russia, and Russia fired back 145 drones. I mean, there's wars and disease and disasters. Haiti's been taken over by gangs. They have totally shut down.
I just saw where a plane was trying to land in Haiti and the gangs were shooting at it.
Yep. And so they have shut down the airport until December 14th, but the gangs have taken over. And so, like, we're not going back to normal. This isn't like a fearful podcast. This is just, I wanted to show you what's in the news so you can be aware. Like, there's people in my family who don't watch the news, they don't look online, they don't do anything, and they are really just focused on UK basketball, or they are focused on this or that and Yellowstone, and so, like, that's what's so important for people to speak up about us being in the end days. And so I really did not think we were going to make it to the women's conference. I just really didn't. I mean, I am looking for the Lord.
And our glorified bodies.
Yeah, I'm tired of being tired. But I'm thankful. I'm glad we made it to the women's conference now that we're here. Yeah. But, you know, it all worked out. And I had two ladies and I know it's going to be good because Satan attacked the women. We had one lady who was in, I forget where she was, I can't remember, some Africa, some place like that, and she
doing
was
mission work.
Doing mission work. We've our church partners with hers. We've built like a church over there and some other things, partnering with them. And she was ran over by a truck, and will possibly lose her legs.
Aww.
Horrible. And she was coming in to speak, and so she couldn't do it. Then the other lady, her name is Jennifer, and she was off of TikTok. And she was in a head-on collision, and she's not going to make it either. So I'm like, okay. So
she's doing some TikTok. She's
just a little bit. Yeah, she's. I think she's still on a scooter, and she's getting better. But we'll definitely get her in next time. So, but there's just a lot going on, and it's like from week to week. I could probably come in here next week and talk about 50 other things that are totally in the news that are totally different. You know. But you just have to keep your spiritual eye open to your surroundings, because we don't want to be caught off guard. We don't want to be just sitting around. And when I mean that, I mean like you need to be prayed up, you need to be confessed up, repented up, and just watching for the Lord, you know, and then making Him known. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. And using the time around the Thanksgiving table, or, you know, maybe it's something weird. Like sometimes it's okay to be weird, to be like, okay, let's start a new tradition. Let's go around the room and talk about something that we're thankful for. You know, just kind of like changing gears from what you normally do.
Or even if you're getting ready to eat and someone says, so-and-so pray, who is the person that prays every year because nobody else will step up and do it.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's really cool. I got these little leaves, and we're going to place them by their plates, and they get to write what they're thankful for. And then I'm going to keep them. I'm going to keep them every year, because next year somebody might not be there. So that's just something that we're going to kind of do this year. It's okay to be corny, because when somebody passes away, I wish that I would have had in my dad's handwriting something he was thankful for. You know, and sometimes we get too busy making mashed potatoes or dumplings or whatever, turkey, and we just we just don't make time for the corniness, So be corny this year, and start a new tradition, but share Jesus. So that's all we got today, because we're going to rehearsal and listening to them sing the songs. And I hope some of you guys will make it to the conference. It's Friday and Saturday. So Saturday is from 9 to 3. We're going to have some lunch and some soup. I like soup. I like food, period. Fall food. I'm a comfort food eater, and I love some soup. Potato soup, my favorite. And vegetable soup. Chili. We've not had dinner, so anyway. But yeah, so we'll be back next week, and we'll be talking about the women's conference, because it will be over and done, and then we'll be sharing on here each speaker, so you'll be able to see it if you missed it. So is there anything else?
That's it.
And just be watching for Jesus, and we'll see you next week if the Lord's willing.